Once upon a time, there was a very arrogant girl from Peru. She thought she was very smart. Her dad told her that. And she was very spoiled and lived a pretty privileged life. But one day, her country got destroyed by the shining path. She was in her 20s, and she was a dentist and a journalist already. But life sometimes makes you things that you don't expect. And she ended up in the United States. And she learned the most important things that anybody can learn. I learned in the United States to feel hungry, to be poor. I learned that only hard work and sacrifice could make you a better life. In other words, I had to mature. I had no choice. The first 5 years, I built a family. I work as a dental assistant. I work and I made my brother Ray and Pearl at that time. I did several jobs because I needed to call my mother every day. And back then, the phone bill was like $1 a minute to call her. Every time I called my mother, she reminded me that in the United States I was nobody. And that if I didn't go back to school, I was gonna die being nobody. And I don't know you, but you know, Latinos, we have a way of destroying our kids with all of our crazy ideas, and we make a novela out of it. So my mother tortured me for 5 years. During those 5 years, I worked like a beast. I worked 20-hour days trying to achieve the American dream. I needed to make a lot of money. I mean, I'm telling you, I was coming from this privileged life, and in the United States, I was making my own bed, you know? So, finally, after 5 years, I realized that there was a law school in Nevada. I only could study in Nevada, so I applied. I forgot a little detail. I really didn't have a good English. I had very little English. But somehow, God provided me an amazing LSAT, and my degree as a dentist allowed me to apply to Boyd. I prayed so much for Dick Morgan and for Dean Duran to let me in, and they did.
Yay!
And I was in my path to the American dream. Remember, I was going to be rich and famous. And I got into law school, and within a few weeks, a professor told me I needed to quit, change, get out of law school right away because I didn't know English. But that's when my life started changing. That's when I realized that, as Sean was saying, that school was so full of love, so full of compassion. I had my English teacher, who is here today, Attorney Shane Clayton, who is an amazing attorney now, but back then was my English teacher, and I will be forever in debt. So he taught me English. Another classmate taught me speech therapy, gave me speech therapy. My accent was really bad. I mean, this is nothing. and I managed to take every commercial transactions class, every tax, every bankruptcy class, and I was in my path for the American dream. Until one day, I was walking towards the law school, and this guy comes, very nice, very gringo, very nice. And he said, I and I am going to open an immigration clinic. And I looked at the guy and I said, poor thing, you don't know what you're getting into. And he said, there's only 2 Latinas in your class and I need somebody who speaks Spanish. And I thought to myself, no way, I'm not going to relive my immigration story all over again. And I smiled and he said, you're going to get a very good grade and that's going to look very good in your resume. And I said, okay, where do I sign? I mean, think about it. I had done my law review, I had interned for the bankruptcy judge. I was doing my super nice resume. And he sent me to an immigration court to see the proceedings. And that day, I was pregnant. I forgot to mention, I was twice pregnant in the 2.5 years that I went to. And I went to that hearing, and this gorgeous 16-year-old Brazilian boy came in shackles. He had been caught in Chicago at night, working in the building of a bridge. He was he had been trafficked from Brazil, and instead of being pampered, protected, nurtured, he was detained in a cell and walking into immigration court in shackles. As you could imagine, being very pregnant and with my hormones all over the place, I started crying like there is no tomorrow. I mean, typical Latino novela. And the Judge Gasly, kicked me out. He said, lady, out of my courtroom. So I left, but I couldn't go nowhere because my friends were driving. And so I cried and cried and cried, thinking, he looked at my eyes, and I was certain he was asking for his mom. And every second I thought, maybe one day one of my kids could end up in another country, in fear. And so I just couldn't stop crying. So the judge comes out, sits down and says, honey, this is not for you. And remember I told you I was an arrogant, spoiled brat? Nobody calls me honey, you know? And nobody tells me this is not for you. But he was the judge. I saw and I said, yes, judge, sure, okay. I went home and I told the father of my children, I'm gonna be an immigration lawyer. And he said, no way, those don't make any money. But that was a sign from God. Because nobody calls me honey, and nobody tells me no way. Right? That moment, I discovered what is the true American dream. It's not about money. It's not about possessions. The American dream is about finding your mission in life. It's about making a dent in this world full of injustice, full of hatred. I was blessed with 3 amazing professors who showed me my mission in life. Professor Aldana showed me the immigration code that we love with mercy. She showed me that while I was a privileged immigrant, there were so many others who had struggled and had suffered so much, and I had the opportunity to help and support them. Professor Thompson taught me that your brain, your intellect, your abilities to learn all the stuff that you learn means nothing if you don't use it to serve others. Professor Thompson taught me that love is what really drives our lawyering world. that as lawyers, we can love and serve others with so much passion and at the same time with so much compassion. And then I graduated, and guess what? I went to Tronson and I said, I'm gonna be an immigration lawyer. And he said, you can open your own place, open your practice. And I don't know, I admired him so much that I believed him. And so I did. And the world came to an end. I had to reinvent the wheel every day. And that's when Professor Saucedo showed up. Professor Saucedo showed up to show me that I wasn't the tough cookie that I thought I was. That I had to humble up, to learn that in order to be a good lawyer, I needed to empathize with my clients. I needed to be able to understand them in any and every language they would talk. Professor Saucedo held my pieces every time I broke down because I thought I was gonna be disbarred. Professor Saucedo, every time I called asking for the answer that I needed to what I needed to do, came up with the Socratic method once and another time and another time and another time. So I had to go back and reinvent the wheel over and over again. Those people transformed my life. After they taught me everything they knew. They created the person that I am today. One that realizes that no matter how many accolades, how many achievements, how much money you can make, at the end of the day, it's another immigrant trying to achieve the American dream. So I thank you. I thank Boyd for giving me this recognition. I don't deserve it, but I couldn't pass the opportunity to be in front of such an amazing audience and not stand here to ask you to please look at my immigrant community with compassion and with love. We are coming because we're desperately seeking the American dream. We are coming because we're desperately looking for a better life. And every time you see one of my immigrants, don't think about them. Think about their children, the US citizen children who go to bed every night thinking that their parents could be deported at any time. Those are my real clients. I am proud to be a rebel. I am proud to be here today, and I am grateful for these opportunities. Thanks.